I'm a Panthers fan first and a Bears fan second. And for a number of years, that was pretty cool, right? You had some fun trades with Greg Olson and Julius Peppers, Jimmy Clausen, I think. But now it just feels like each franchise is trying to figure out how to do the most damage. You had Justin Fields and the way that was managed. And now, watching what happened with Bryce Young, it's been hard. But I don't think anything could have been lower than this past Sunday, watching Caleb Williams and DJ Moore, the first-round draft pick and the wide receiver that the Panthers traded to the Bears so that they could go get Bryce Young, while Bryce Young sat on the bench, which is probably where he should have been. That was just brutal. That was just brutal. I don't know. It's like all I have is that we're not the Browns.
He told you 4 to 5 weeks, and right on schedule, the offense is clicking. A strong first half, 30 unanswered points, DJ Moore with 2 touchdowns, and the defense locks it down again. What more could we ask for? The Bears scored the most points they've scored all season and are now 3-2 after beating the Carolina Panthers. So, what did we learn about the Bears this week?
Well, we learned that we're not the Panthers. So, some quick context. Want to give a shout out to my friend Ian Kibbe, who was nice enough after the Bears shellacked the Panthers to give me a nice soundbite of what it's like to be a Panthers fan. So, thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
And thank you to your organization for its continued support of the Chicago Bears.
That's really, there's like the AAA feeds into your major league team. This is kind of, we've been AAA-ing the Panthers.
Yeah, and it's not done yet. We still have another pick of theirs. And Jonathan Vilma, he was pretty bad on the broadcast, but he did say, we don't know who won the trade yet because they still have another pick. It's like, no, even without, we still know who won the trade. The trade is not going to come down to the 2025 second round pick and whether that guy hits or not. It could straight been the number 1 for DJ Moore, Bryce Young for DJ Moore, and I think we still would have won the trade.
Yeah.
Forget about Caleb Williams or Tyreek Stevenson or Torrey Taylor or Darnell Wright or, I guess we did trade that other fourth with Keenan Allen that was packaged together with something else. But yeah, they still would have won. So what did we learn about the Bears this week? You know what we learned? We learned that I was right. That's what we learned.
He was right, dude. Right on the money. We sort of almost previewed it last week because at about the second half of the fourth quarter, they started to click. And then this was they were clicking like a mofo. It all came together.
And, everybody's like, oh, it's the Panthers. Well, you know what? It's the Panthers, but you know how many quarterbacks that have played the Panthers so far threw for 200 yards and a half? Only Caleb Williams.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You know what? All the other quarterbacks didn't do that. So don't give me that it's the Panthers, okay?
Well, I guess it's it's nice to do the thing maybe you're supposed to do. Because,
that's true.
Sometimes you're going to struggle against teams, but it's you did what you were supposed to do against a team that is lowly, which is
yeah, you're supposed to beat up on bad teams. And, we shitting on the Panthers a lot, and, a lot of it they had coming, but they're also ravaged by injuries, right? They lost their best defensive linemen. 2 of their linebackers were out. They just lost their starting center to a ruptured bicep. They're falling apart, and they're not competitive. They weren't competitive at full strength, and they're certainly not competitive with backups. So they did what they were supposed to do. And it was funny because the keys to the game that we talked about last week, what did we talk about? Is the offense going to continue the momentum from the second half of that Rams game?
Yeah.
Check, right? The clip we played last week was about Caleb talking about how getting into the flow of things, right? Let's stick with the tempo. Let's stick with the tempo. And they did that. 25 of the Bears' 69 plays were from the no huddle. And it showed up. That faster tempo showed up. The first drive was bad. And once again,
a pick on the first throw.
Yeah. And that was interesting too, because Caleb said, It was windy. It was crazy windy. I don't think he's played in that sort of wind before that you get at Soldier Field. And so he threw it, and it was behind Keenan. It probably should have been picked, but that was his only turnover-worthy play of the day. And he said that after every series, he'd take the squirt bottle and squirt the water and see which way it was going to figure out how aggressive the wind was going to be on that drive, just because it was kind of crazy. So that was a bad first pass with the wind, but after that, totally settled in, right? We talked about the offensive line. What was that going to look like? And Jenkins got hurt again, but this time they didn't bring in Nate Davis. They brought in Bill Murray, and not the comedian Bill Murray.
Yeah, I heard that joke in the thing, and I said, "All right, we get it, man."
Yeah, they love that joke. And so Nate Davis didn't see any playing time. I don't see how he's going to get back on the field. But it'll be interesting, and we'll cover this in our preview for next week. Is Matt Pryor getting ejected?
Yeah,
which means he's out the next game. So I don't know what they're going to do at left guard. They clearly don't like Davis. They'll probably just start Murray, would be my guess. But
there was two things Jonathan Vilma said. I actually, it's funny that you said. I actually found it very interesting. There were two things. Well, there were some things he said that really stuck out to me, which I thought was very interesting. He kept saying a hat on a hat, which is I think just get a body on a body, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
But he said he said that the Bears were doing a lot of motions, which was confusing the linebackers of the Carolina Panthers, and like. As you said, like they just seemed very discombobulated and not like on lock. But that was cool. It was like you move around, confuse some people. You don't know where the guys are going to be, like, I don't know, running or whatever. Like they just don't know where the guys are going to be coming from. But that was really interesting. And then he also said to the no huddle flow thing, he said people sometimes think that the no huddle is harder, but for a rookie quarterback, it actually might be easier because there's not a lot of plays that the defense can do besides like a cover two and I forgot what the other, but he's like, the defense is limited, so the reads you actually have to make as a quarterback are not as many. And so that was like a cool...
That's true.
That's a very interesting point. And, I mean, yeah, I liked that they just kind of let it ride, man. Like it looked...
Caleb said as much, too, because the defense doesn't get to switch out their personnel. And so you're dealing with the same personnel. And then, like, you're right, there's a limited amount of packages that personnel grouping can run. And, if you got a jumbo package out there and they're going to stay out there, those guys are going to get tired, right? Or if you're in like a dime or nickel, you know that you don't have as many big bodies and like they can only do so much. And so it was good. I thought Waldron had his best game. He finally was getting all four of his best pass catchers on the field, because there was times where you're like, why isn't Cole in? And Keenan was hurt for a while. And, Rome had certain packages, but let me see if I get this right. So DJ Keenan, Komet, Rome played 60 of the 75 offensive snaps together. So
yeah,
the guys that are supposed to be out there were out there, right? And I think it was great.
And that's when you see like when Everett makes a catch, it's like, okay, cool, man, like great. Like that, it doesn't seem like you're not like it seemed, I don't even remember what the numbers were, but it just was, we had asked like, why is Everett in the game so much? Where is Komet? And so that flip of like, get your guys who are supposed to get it, and then the other guys can actually be like valuable and beneficial, and it's a fun little surprise. Yeah, it was everything looked very nice.
Even the screen game, which I know you're not a huge fan of.
I'm open to be changed. Open to be changed, and I thought, I'm happy.
Even that was productive. So no, it was great all around. I still don't fully understand his use of the running backs. It's good that Roshan's getting more involved, but for me, it makes more sense to run Roshan early and Swift later. They seem to do it the other way around, where they like to get Swift involved early and then bring in Roshan. But obviously, this guy knows what he's doing, obviously more than me, so he's got a rhyme or reason for it. But yeah, otherwise, Swift is running like he listens to this podcast or, reads the internet because he's fired up and he's having his best 2 games as a Bear. So it's cool. We lost a 4th and 1. I wasn't happy about that. On some stupid fullback dive. So it was early in the game.
Oh.
They didn't convert that.
Yeah.
I wish they just do what you did. I mean, the Panthers are not great. Put Doug Kramer back in there, put Roshan in the back, and just get the yard, man.
It's interesting. You just see like just discrepancies in teams. And so it's just nice to be on the positive side of that, to like be like, all right, cool, we look competent. It's actually, they were showing Andy Dalton's win-loss and at the beginning of the game, and I was like, oh, I think it was like, damn, Sagar's probably going to correct us, but it was like, he had 100 more wins than losses on his record. now, Sagar, correct us if I'm wrong. It was like better than I thought. And so I was like, oh, damn, maybe Andy Dalton's like, better than maybe we give him credit for. But then you kind of watch this game and you're like, it kind of maybe makes sense, like why he's been passed around a little bit. He's very good, but like he's not.
Well, prime Andy Dalton was a good quarterback. I mean, he went to the playoffs a number of times, never won a playoff game famously, but yeah, now he's kind of like the veteran that gets shipped around everywhere. But he was a good player for a long time. So he didn't make, he had some errant passes, but I think a lot of that is honestly the Bears just abusing Carolina up front and putting Andy in situations where he had to like make a throw off balance or he's getting hit while, so I thought, the defense continues to be elite, especially the pass defense. The run defense could be better, I think. I think they gave up like 120 yards or something like that on the ground. But that pass defense is just like, the secondary especially is just ball hawking. Kevin Byard had his first interception. Jalen, I think, had another one. And they're forcing fumbles, and Javon Dexter is a beast. They have 4 sacks in 5 games. Like he's making those Bears fans that wish they took Jalen Carter, forget about that name.
Yeah.
Because he's just been wreaking havoc. So, it was all good against Carolina. Obviously we should talk about Caleb too. That was his best game, right?
Yeah. Before we get to Caleb, just real quick, I just realized it's touchdowns and interceptions, not wins and losses. The Andy Dalton discrepancy, a lot more touchdowns than interceptions in his career. I'd said significantly more wins and losses.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to Sagar. I just wanted to make sure.
I mean, I heard the 100 more wins and losses.
I heard
like,
it too.
That doesn't sound right.
Well,
I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole.
Well, we're here to support each other, not break each other down.
Exactly.
But I figured it out. Thank you for letting me come to my discovery. Yes. Now, please get to tell us a little bit about Caleb.
Let's talk about Caleb. So obviously he's continuing to improve, and I don't even think it's like linearly, right? Every week seems like a massive jump from the week before. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like this week he was just, aside from that first pass, really like nothing really to complain. I mean, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and only 1 sack. That's also big.
Yeah.
He was getting sacked a lot the first couple games, right? And yeah, the offensive line has their issues, and they've been playing much better too. But, Caleb is figuring out how to avoid some of these. I mean, he's still doing crazy ass, like he's drunk in the pocket, right? Just stumbling around. And that didn't really work the first couple games, but I think he's kind of figured out the speed of it. He got out of a couple sacks. He ran for some first downs. Should have run for a touchdown.
Oh yeah, they got called back
for like clipping, which they had to explain what clipping was because it never gets called.
And he did. I mean, he did clip him.
He did clip him. He whiffed a little bit, actually, I think. But they called it anyway. So I think the preset penalties were also down, which is good. That shows a little bit more Caleb, like understanding the cadence, communicating with his offensive line. He does so much manipulating pre-snap, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at him. He's saying kill, kill, kill. He's switching up plays. He's like pointing guys out. He's got the Steph Curry mouthpiece going. He's just, man, he's got it figured out. And like, it's kind of cool because, the Bears' plan when they traded Fields and drafted Caleb was like, okay, anything we get from Caleb this year, I feel like is going to be gravy. And we're drafting him to be our quarterback from like 2025 to 2030 or whenever his contract runs out. But the fact that he's this far along this quickly, I think is probably something they didn't even really predict.
Do you feel like for yourself, as you watch this 5th game of his like NFL career and you're watching all of this and against whatever, you can't choose your, opponents or whatever. But yeah, do you feel like he is farther along than you had anticipated he was going to be?
That's a good question. And I would say he's about I guess he is a little bit further than I thought he would be. I thought it would take, like we talked about ad nauseum, right? The 4.5 to 5 games for the offense to figure it out. But when I said offense to figure it out, I was like, oh, the playmakers around Caleb will be kind of helping him win games, right? He'll be along for the ride kind of thing. But I think he's a quarterback that they win because of.
Yeah.
Now instead of win with, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you can kind of tell maybe who's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and this is going to sound maybe kind of silly, but it's like the quarterback is always thrown to the wide receiver. The wide receiver is always going to catch the ball. Like, But you can kind of tell, is he catching it because the wide receivers are the ones making the plays, or is he the one like?
It's kind of both, right?
Yeah.
I think that this second touchdown to DJ Moore that was right in the end zone.
Yeah.
That was both of those guys, right?
Yeah.
You know, DJ ran a skinny post, had great leverage, and he beat his guy. Like that should be a touchdown passing catch, right? And Caleb put it right where he needed to. And I mean, it's just cool. It's cool to see that functioning. It's cool to see the deep ball actually working, right?
Yes.
Because the deep ball has been not great, coming into it. And that was like one of the major criticisms of Caleb for the first 4 games was the deep ball. And he was just like missing horribly. But
like so bad. It was like.
But that is something that like rookie quarterbacks struggle with is the deep ball. That always comes later. I think like, Manning and Brady and a lot of those guys, I think the deep ball was the last thing that they really got to be successful at. So that's kind of normal, I would say. And so, if he can figure that out, I mean, his intermediate short game is great. The screens look like easy passes, but they're not always easy passes. There's a lot of traffic there. And you can see he's got like some crazy arm angles when he throws some of those screens.
Yeah. Had a little like, there's one little side, little dip. I forgot who he threw it to, but yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I think he's just getting better. And he just looks like he has played way more than 5 games in the NFL, I guess is the best way to put it.
That's a really good way to put it.
Right?
Yeah.
He looks like this isn't his first or 5th rodeo.
Yeah. There was not specific to the Bears or the Panthers. I just saw there was a weird football rule I learned about yesterday, which is that you can have on a kickoff or a field goal, you can have 12 people on the field as long as the 12th person runs off of the field. That was just a new rule.
I think it's part of the new kickoff.
Weird as shit.
It's like I'm not impressed with this new kickoff situation. Yeah. I'm like, what? It's just like they're all standing differently, but it's kind of the same thing. I don't know. But maybe it'll take off. One of the things to note, I guess, ahead of next week is, DeAndre Carter, great return guy, right? He's been doing really well, but he got hurt in the Rams game, played this week, left the game again with the rib injury. So I feel like they'll probably hold him out next week because they have the bye the week after that, right? So I feel like guys that are banged up and not like core players will probably just hold out to give them 2 weeks of rest if they can.
Yeah.
Carter probably fits that bill.
And I guess they're playing, maybe let's just get into the preview then at this point.
Let's do it,
So we're going the Bears are going to England. They're playing the Jags. Jags are not that good.
Correct.
So they said some of the players you can just stay at home. What should we be looking out for the upcoming game against the Jags?
So once again, the much like the Panthers, the Jaguars are not good, especially not good on pass defense. So I would look to see, can the Bears keep it up, right? Can Caleb keep it up? Can he play mistake-free football? Can he take advantage of a bad secondary? Some notes and nuggets. They flew to London today. I think they're going to be there all week because Eberflus wants them to get their clocks right. And I don't think they did that in the past. I think before they would go a couple days before or something like that. So he wants to get there as early as possible. One of the things I thought was interesting is before Sunday or before both the Bears and Jags played, the line was looking like Jags -1, and now it's flipped to Bears -1.5. So it's almost like 2.5 point swing just based on last week's performances. Now both teams won, but the line still flipped, so that makes me a little bit nervous, actually, that the Bears are favored by 1.5. I feel like a lot of people are probably going to be on the Bears, and whichever way the public goes, generally, Vegas makes money for a reason, so. But hopefully it's not like a trap game. Like I said, the Jags' defense is horrendous. They have the fewest takeaways in the league with 2. They have 0 interceptions in their last 5 games, and they've given up the second most points and the second most yards this season. So there's no reason for the Bears not to have continued success. They will be without Brisker, the starting safety, right? He's in concussion protocol after that huge hit on Tremble, which knocked him out.
Yeah.
So he didn't travel with the team, so he's likely going to be out. So Mr. Biles will get some playing time.
Hell yeah.
He dropped an interception in the Panthers game. Hopefully he can redeem himself a little bit. But yeah, no, it's another opportunity for the Bears to get another win against a 1-win team. All of their wins have come against 1-win teams so far. So we'll keep that streak going. The Titans, Rams, Panthers all have only 1 win on the season. So next up is the Jags, who also only have 1 win on the season. So let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Let's keep beating up on these these terrible teams.
Let's do it, man. Any other final thoughts?
No, feeling good. Feeling
Yeah.
good. It was going to take 4.5, 5 games, and that's what it took. And let's hope that they don't take any steps backwards. I think that's been the cool thing to watch, especially with Caleb, is they haven't gone backwards. Now, it started at the bottom. Now we're here, right? And we can't go back to the bottom. And so we just got to keep improving, even if it's incrementally, right? It doesn't have to be this exponential improvement that we've seen from Caleb every week. But even if he starts to improve slightly or even plateau a little bit, that's great. As long as he's not going backwards and having another 93-yard passing performance or, like multiple turnovers, right? Like, just keep it going. Keep the good vibes going.
Hell yeah. For Samir Patel, I'm Chirag Rathod. We are Bears in the neighborhood, and we will catch y'all next week, love.